And what would be an example of how you would shift the tradition to, I don't know, fit better with the modern world?
Well, there are some really positive contributions that are modern that aren't necessarily from the ancestral traditions, although I guess everything has to be from the ancestral traditions, depending on how you look at it. But something like epigenetic reprogramming, Psych-K, NLP, these are therapy techniques that were developed in a Western paradigm, but they do like tap into a spiritual element. And holotropic breath work, which you could easily say is actually a ancestral tradition. And also some of them are ancestral, like combining yoga and meditation, massage therapies, sweat lodge, things like that. But really like having the freedom to do that outside of the confines of one particular tradition, which is how we've operated for since we started.
You've referenced the Shipibo tradition, but I believe in one of your other interviews, you said there is 100 different tribes or more that have a ayahuasca tradition. And you also mentioned these three curanderos of different lineages. I was surprised that there was that many different tribes doing that. Why pick the Shipibo lineage, or why did it fall under that?
Right. I mean, the easiest one would just be that I resonate specifically with Don Enrique. Don Enrique and I, when the very first day we met, within an hour, we liked each other. We were going to be friends. And so I don't know if I was like, I want to work with a Shipibo. I don't know if I was like, I don't know, tribally thinking or whatever. I was really just thinking personally about this one person that I am interacting with and how I feel in that interaction and how much I resonate. And once I started talking about my ideas, because it was my idea to start the course. I had been a student for 4 years with my first teacher, Don Juan, and I had taken notes and I had shot video and I had made recordings and I had done all these things where I developed this collection of educational materials. And at one point it just made sense. Like, why shouldn't I like share this? Like, why don't I figure out a way that I can share all this material that I've learned over the last 4 years so that people can learn it faster? People can learn it without needing to spend as much time or make as many mistakes as I had. And so when I shared that concept or that idea with him, he was like, I love that idea. That's why I'm here. Like, that's why I'm in Iquitos and not in my community, because God told me to come here so that I can teach Westerners the Shipibo tradition. And I was like, no way, that's why you're here? Like, that's why I'm here. Like, so we just like really, really clicked. And whether he was Shipibo or Kokama or Mestizo or anything, that really wasn't that at the forefront of my decision-making process. It was really just about our personal click. And I think it's important to recognize that, like, there's like a giant healing tradition called curanderismo in the Amazon rainforest. That covers plant medicine. That can be using San Pedro as a central core, or coca as a central core, or ayahuasca as a central core, but it's plant-based, mapacho or other trees, or anything. And then there's like these divisions in that, and you can divide it by plants as the central core of a particular tradition. You can divide it by indigenous groups, which is often done, but then it gets like even more specific. So even if you were to say Shipibo tradition, it's almost like saying Catholic. Like you can say Catholic, and yes, there is like a general concept of what people believe, but we all know you could meet a Catholic on one end of the spectrum and another Catholic on the other end of the spectrum. They're both Catholic, but the one on the far end might be more similar to a Jew than they are to that other Catholic, because people are people. And so that, I would say, also goes for any type of categorization within a healing tradition. I get so specific that I just say we teach the Mahua Lopez tradition. So it's Enrique Lopez and his wife, Doña Vilma Mahua. And those are two familial lineages within the Shipibo that came together in their marriage, and their knowledge was shared amongst them. And they developed essentially like a fusion tradition based on those two familial lineages. And that's the specific tradition that we teach on the course. Because even if you were to drink with Enrique's younger brother, Miguel, it's different, just like Miguel didn't marry Doña Vilma, and so he like went in a different direction. Even within just one family, you'll see differences. But if you were to go to a different Shipibo community, there would be differences. And yes, the language, of course, keeps things in a similar strain. Obviously, Shipibo curanderos all sing in Shipibo. So, if you listen to a Shipibo curandero, you'll say, well, that sounds like the other Shipibo curandero, because they're all speaking the exact same language. But even with melodies, I had the pleasure of like doing programs like I described, where I was working with different curanderos, and there were similarities in melodies that were cross tribes, so like,
Oh, cool.
They use the same melody, but different words and different language, obviously.
Oh, interesting.
And that was like really fascinating to me. How did that happen? Of course, if you listen to what they say, well, the plants taught us that. So yeah, the plant, if plant's teaching you a melody, then they'll teach somebody else a melody. They don't care what tribe you are, but it's really interesting to see, because it starts to kind of confirm that, oh man, maybe what they're saying is actually how it happens. Instead of trying to think that we know better than them, we owe it to ourselves to listen to their ideas as well.